Hello YouTube, hello guys, you're welcome to another exciting day. You're welcome to my channel, you're welcome to YJ Digital World. I remain your host, Agu Joseph. So guys, on this video I'll be showing you how to create a simple banner design. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into the design. So we'll have to create a Canva workspace for the design. So we'll click on new file over here, and over here we'll set our unit of measurement on pixels, while over here we'll like to change the orientation by setting this to landscape format, that is 2000 pixels by 1000 pixels of height and width respectively. For this we can call this church banner. Okay, leave the resolution on 300. The color mode can be set on RGB and you hit on the create button. So over here we have the Canva workspace on which we'll be designing on. So the first phase has to do with dragging in the exercise files I'll be using for this tutorial. So over here I have the exercise files I'll be using for this design. Do well to check the video description. You'll find the link to this exercise file in the video description. Okay, so the next thing we'll have to do in the design phase, which is the first phase of the design process, has to do with creating of the background. So for illustration purpose, I'll be using this to create an illustration that depicts the theme of the event, which is building relationship. That is the theme of the event. So I'll place this image around somewhere here like this. After I'm done, I'll come over here where I have the background layer, slide over to the adjustments, gradient to be precise, click on the gradient. We'll have the gradient editor. Over here I've created a preset of gradients I'll be using. On this end here, here's the hex code to the color I'm actually using, and this is located at 37 to be precise, while for this is located on 100, and this is the hex code for the color I'm actually using on this end as well. So please take note, these both ends are set on 100% opacity respectively. You can click on the OK button for that. I would like to change the angle of the gradient to be precise, so I like to change it to a angle like this. Is okay for me, so I can drag this manually to adjust the angle from my Canva workspace. So after we're done with that, you can click on the OK button. Okay, so after that we'll come over here, select this image here. I would like to change the blending mode of the building by changing it to, let me see, which will work perfectly well. Okay, screen will work perfectly well for this, or let me try changing this to, let me see. Okay, the overlay will actually work as well, but I'd like to scale down the opacity for this. Okay, add a vector max. Adding a vector max, I'll pick the brush tool over here. Scale up the size of the brush by using the open and close bracket key beside the P button on my keyboard to scale it up or scale it down. Make sure your opacity and flows are set on 100 respectively. They are being used to actually control the strength of your brush. Okay, over here we switch the foreground to black, okay, so that I'll be able to hide out those regions I don't need on this max layer. So I've set this on black so I can now brush out some of those details out gently. Okay, that is in terms of that. So the next thing I would like to do on this background is to enable another image over here, which is this. So I'll take it over here where I have this, Ctrl T, place it around somewhere here like this, scale it down to be precise like this. So after I'm done placing that, I would like to change the blending mode for this image to, I think this will actually work well for this. So after I'm done changing the blending mode, I also add a vector max as well to also brush out those sharp edges around the image to be precise. Ctrl T, select the main layer, Ctrl T, scale it out, and yeah, actually good to go as well. That is in terms of that. I'll also come over here where I have the gradients and choose to add another adjustment such as levels to this. So on the levels, I would like to add more details around these regions to be precise, as well as working on the mid-tones as well. Okay, so I'll scale down this to a good radius like this. Okay, I'm trying to add more depth to the background. Okay, so after I'm done with that, over here I have this image, and I would like to also work on the blending mode. I'm not still comfortable with the blending mode for this. Let me also check a blending mode, okay, that will work perfectly well, and I think one of these will actually work. Let me use this for illustration purpose. Okay, I think this is much softer in nature. I still choose to soften this as well. Okay, so after we're done with that, the next thing I would like to do is to add this image over here. I'll make a duplicate by hitting Ctrl J. Okay, turn off this other layer, Ctrl T to transform. I like to scale up the size this way, like this. Scale it up properly. Okay, I think it's okay like this. I can still choose to adjust its position as well. Scale this down a little. I think this radius is actually good. So after I'm done, I'll come over here, pick up my rectangular marquee tool to create a selection around this region like this, and come over here on my vector and add a vector mask. You notice what happens? The love image actually disappears. So I hit Ctrl I to invert my selection. Okay, that's how to go about that, to be precise. So move to the other face, which has to do with placing of the church logo. For this, I intend to change the fill color for the church logo to this particular fill. Okay, so I'll come over here, double click on the layer, over here on color overlay. I'll come over here and expand this as well, and use the color picker to pick this color. Click on OK, click on OK, Ctrl T to transform it out and scale it down. So I can scale this down this way and place it around here, to be precise. So after I'm done, I would like to move further by working on the image of the guest and the pastor of the occasion, to be precise. So for that, I would like to enable their images respectively, which is these two images over here. I'll place them all around this region. So first thing first, I always advise that when working on any subject image, you should always right click and convert them to a smart object. Converting them to a smart object enable you to maintain the image resolution whenever you actually resize it without losing its resolution. That is in terms of that, and it also enable you to actually make adjustments to the layer at any point in time in the design phase. Okay, so I've converted this pastor image to a smart object, so I'll do same for this. Right click and convert this to a smart object as well. So come over here, scale this. Okay, I think I'll scale this up and place this around somewhere like this. Scale it and place it around somewhere here like this. That is in terms of that. Okay, so after I'm done, I'll also transform this as well, scale it down and place it side by side as this, to be precise. So I think we are actually good. So the next thing I like to do is to add a vector mask to this. Okay, come over here, select the gradient tool. Okay, make sure the mask layer is selected, and you can then come to your gradient editor here to edit this and set it on the default, which is the black and white preset, and you are good to go. So I'll come over here, left click, hold shift and brush out gently these edges. So I'll switch to my brush by pressing B on the keyboard and brush out some of these other regions that are actually sharp. So I'll just soften it. Okay, that is in terms of that. So I'll come over here where I have this pastor image. I'll also add a vector mask to it as well. Pick the move tool. I like to adjust its position. Okay, likewise this, I'll also like to adjust this like this. For this, I like to scale it down a little. Okay, for this, I like to still scale this down a little and place it around somewhere like this. So after I'm done with this, I'll pick the gradient tool, select the mask layer, left click, hold shift and drag it up gently like this to create a smooth transition between those rough edges. Okay, that is in terms of that. Okay, so the next thing I would like to do to these images is to add more depth to this image, starting with I think this image. So I'll select the layer, come to filter and enable the camera raw filter. So on the camera raw filter, to be precise, I would like to enable the before and after so that I have a good preview of the image in hand. Okay, so over here I'll start by working on the basics, to be precise. So on the basics, this is more of an eyeballing situation whenever you're trying to apply sharpening or color grade your image in Photoshop. It is more of an eyeballing situation. There are no actual rules governing this. You actually allow your eyes to guide you in terms of doing this. The highlights also work on it, adding more depth to those regions. The shadows as well also need to be worked upon. Okay, enhance this as well to about, I think this is also good. The white also needs to be scaled down a little, as well as this, so you can now have a good preview of the before and the after respectively in terms of that. Okay, I think this will work this way. Okay, so after I'm done, come over here on the texture and add more depth. This is where I put more of my focus on adding more texture effect to my image illustration. For this as well, I also like to boost up the clarity of the image. Likewise, coming down over here and scaling this a little bit down like this. So apart from the text and the clarity, I can also add more depth by reducing the saturation. I like reducing the saturation in the situation whereby I'm working on more than one image. Okay, and I would like to give them a similar feel while working on the rest of the other set of images. So this is the before and this is the after. So I've turned down the saturation. So I'll come over here to details and I'd like to add a feel of sharpening to this, sharpen the image to a good radius. I think this is good. Reduce the noise to, I think this is also good. Okay, please, there are no actual rules governing this. It's more of an eyeballing situation. So click on the OK, and this is how we have our image looking more crunchy in nature. Okay, so I'll select the female pastor image here and enable the camera raw effect as well and apply the same technique to this. So I'll start by sharpening this a little as well. So sharpen the image to a good radius. The noise reduction as well is also good. Come to the basics as well. On the basics, we also work on boosting up the exposure. Okay, the contrast as well. We'll also boost up the contrasts in terms of this. Okay, I think this is good this way. The highlight as well needs to be worked upon. Okay, for this as well, the shadows need to be worked upon. Likewise, the whites need to be worked upon as well. Okay, the black as well need to be enhanced as well, so that most of the details can actually come out. The textures also need to be worked upon, so we'll scale off this texture to a good radius of about, I think this is good. The clarity, I think this is okay as well. That is in terms of that. The saturation needs to also be scaled down to a good minimum where we can actually blend every other Okay, I think we are done with that, and we'll click on the OK. Okay, so this is how the image is actually looking like. So you can also click on the camera raw if you are not satisfied. This is the before and this is the after. You can click on this and it will take you back to the camera raw to make any adjustments, and that is the actual benefit of you converting your layer to a smart object. Okay, so after we're done with this, I'd like to add more depth to these images. So I'll come over here and add the color balance. Click on the clip mark so that the effect will only affect the image, to be precise. So over here, I would like to start with the midtones. So on the midtones, to be precise, I would like to basically work on this. This is actually a combination of the CMYK and the RGB. So I'll start by working on the pastor, the male pastor image by enhancing some of the details on the face. Okay, for this as well, scale this down to this radius. The yellows in the midtones will add more of blue feel. Okay, for the highlights, we'll also come over here, scale this up, scale this way as well. Okay, and likewise the yellow thing will also add more feel of yellow to the face. Okay, so for the shadows as well, we'll boost this a little this way and focus on this as well. Okay, so after we are done, this is the before and this is the after. So I'll come over here where I have the female pastor image and apply a color balance. Click on the clip marks so that the effect will be only on the lady image. So over here, I'll start by working on the midtones as well. So I'll boost up the red tones on this to this radius. I'll also work on the magenta by scaling this way and by working on this like this. So highlights, on the highlights to be precise, we also need to actually scale this way and scale this like this. Okay, for the shadows as well, we need to scale up the reds along the shadow regions. Okay, and add a little feel of yellow to the image. That is in terms of that. Okay, so this is without the color balance and this is with the color balance. Okay, but I would like to make my layers more organized, so I'll select this layer where I have the gradients all the way to here. I'll hit Ctrl G to group this, so I'll call this BG, which stands for the background. Okay, over here as well, I like to select the pastor image, hold shift, select this, hit Ctrl G to group them and call this pastors. Okay, that is in terms of that, so I can place this over here. Okay, I can still choose to come back to this background layer, create a new layer by hitting Ctrl Shift N and call this noise. I would like to add the feel of noise texture effect, enable the 50% gray. Click on the OK, right click and convert this to a smart object, filter noise and add the noise effect on this. I don't like this to be too heavy. I think this radius is also good and we are good to go. Okay, so that is in terms of the background and the pastor image. So move to the next phase, which has to do with placing the body text and other set of information. So before doing that, I would like to enable this image here to add more depth to this design. So I'll change the blending mode for this to, let me see, okay, screen work perfectly well, Ctrl T. So I'll place one over here, scale it out and place one over here. So I would like to take this behind the group layer of the pastor and place it around here, make a duplicate, Ctrl T, scale it down and place one along this region to be precise. Okay, so after you are done, I also like to make a duplicate and take it above the pastor's group. Okay, and place it around the face region. this way, okay, to show that the light source is also reflecting on the face. You can also reduce the opacity so that the reflection won't be too intense on the image, okay. It is more of an eyeballing situation as well. So you can duplicate this as well and place one around the face of the pastor along this region as well. You can either enhance the opacity or reduce the opacity. It is all left to you, to be precise. So I can still choose to make a duplicate of one of the background and place the light source around here. Scale down the opacity as well. It won't be too intense, okay. I think that's in terms of that. So after we are done with that, I also like to work on this image over here, this love image. I also like to change the blending mode for this to, okay, that is in terms of that. I can still choose to reduce the opacity to a good radius and we are actually good to go, okay. So after we are done with this, I would like to move to another face which has to do with adding more depth to this. So above this, I would like to create a new layer here. Pick my brush tool by pressing B on the keyboard, right click. So I will scroll down over here and look for my brush, okay, under the resource boy. I got this brush from resourceboy.com. You can actually look up on the website, you will see lots of good resources. So after I'm done with that, make sure the layer is selected. Scale down the size of your brush by using the open and close bracket key, okay. Change the fill to white as well and left click like this. It will add a feel of a cloud effect, okay. Click on this to save and change the blending mode to, I think this is okay. Make a duplicate of it, scale it down and place one around somewhere here like this, okay. That is in terms of that. Let me scale this up properly, okay. That is in terms of the cloud. So after we are done with that, I would like to move to the other face, which is have to do with the text. So I pick the text tool and paste in my text. So I'll come over here, paste in the present text over here, okay. Add a feel of contrast under the type. I'm making use of the Montserrat font, so under the font style, I'll scale this to semi-bold and I like to change the fill color to this, to be precise. So you can scale it down and place it directly beneath this like this. So you can also get the hex code. Here is the hex code for the color I used for the text, okay. That is the hex code for that. So the next thing I'd like to place in the theme of the event, which is building relationships. So I'll come here and place in the text. For this, I would like to take it out from that group, change the font to Bestorica. That's the name for the font I'm using for this. So I'll make a duplicate of this and paste in this text over here. For this, I'll be using the font called Autograph Personnel. That is the name of the font. So I'll scale it up and place it at the middle of this text like this. So I'll select both layers, Ctrl T, place it this way and scale up the size, okay. So after you're done with those line of text, let me take this line of text to the topmost layer over here. For this, I would like to adjust and scale up the size a little bit, okay. Come to my swatches, I'll be using this fill color, okay. And for that, here is the hex code for you fill color I'm actually using, 2D is the hex code. While for this other line of text, I will double click on the layer style will come up. Over here on gradient overlay, I will use this preset. Okay, on this end there is the hex code of the color I'm actually using, while on this other end here is the hex code of the color. So I'll click on the OK, leave other settings the way they are, click on the OK button for that. So after I'm done, come over here, right click and select the ellipse tool, create a big ellipse of this size like this structure like this. Okay, it should have a white fill. I would like you to come over here where I have this relationship text, create a group by hitting Ctrl G to group it. Okay, so I can come over here, Ctrl T on the ellipse shape and place it around somewhere here like this. Right click and clip marks this to that group and you see what actually happens. So I'll come over here and reduce the opacity to about this radius to be precise. I can still choose to double click on it, come to drop down shadow and add a little feel of drop down shadow to this. It doesn't have to be so intense. So add a little feel of drop down shadow to this and you are good to go. So click on the OK button. That is in terms of this particular text. So I'll come over here, select this set of text and group them together, and I'll call this the theme of the event. Ctrl T, scale this out a little bit more. I think it's okay like this. Okay, for this as well, like to scale down the size as well. Okay, that is for the church logo. The present text, scale this down, create contrast. I think this size is actually good. So after we are done, I like to place in the date and time of the event. So I'll copy out this line of text and place in the date and time over here. I'll be maintaining the Montserrat for this text. So I'll create contrast by changing the style for this particular line of text to, let me say, extra bold, and change the fill color to a fill over here. So I'll sample a fill color from here. Here is the hex code. Click on the OK button and still choose to adjust the spacing between them to create room for proximity. So I can choose to reduce the space between the text this way to create room for proximity, in the sense that these two set of information has a relationship in common. Date and time actually work hand in hand. So I have to reduce the space between them by placing them closely to each other side by side like this. So I can make a duplicate of this like this and placing the venue of the church. So I will create space for contrast so that there will be room for the text to actually breathe. Okay, so for this I also do that as well. So after you're done with that, also like to place another set of information on this. So I'll pick the rectangle over here and create a rectangle of about this dimension. Pick the text to come over here, select this. Okay, and place it in here. Ctrl T, scale it out. Make sure you are making use of the Montserrat. Set this bold a little and make sure that the text is aligned to the rectangle. So I'll come over here on the layer panel where I have rectangle and hold Ctrl, move my mouse pointer to where I have this thumbnail looking form of a square. This way I'll left click and select this layer where I have the activity text. Pick the move to align horizontally and vertically center into that, and you are good to go. Change, I think this is actually okay. Change the fill color for this text to a value of, I think a value of yellow will do to create contrast among elements. I think that's okay. So I can choose to scale this down a little bit like this. Placing the text over here, Ctrl T, scale it out and place it side by side as this. You can still scale it out like this as well. For this, change the style to, let me say, semi-bold, so that the text can be seen properly. Scale down the size of this, okay, and adjust this way. Okay, so you can choose to actually group a line of text together by calling these activities. Okay, that is in terms of that. Ctrl T, I can move this and place it around somewhere here like this. I also intend to make adjustment to this as well. So over here I have a copy of this, so I'll scale it down like this and place one around somewhere here like this. Okay, make a duplicate of it, Ctrl T, scale it out and reduce the size like this. Come over here to where I have grouped this layer, scale down the size and place it around the shape at the middle. Okay, I'm trying to play with text in terms of size and thereby creating contrast as well. I think this is okay like this. So we'll proceed by placing in the name of the pastors. So I'll create contrast by increasing this to extra bold, changing the fill to similar fill as this. Okay, so I'll Ctrl T, scale this down this way and we are good to go. So come over here, select the rectangle tool and create a rectangle of this dimension. Okay, for this I would like to give it a fill color of let me say this is okay. So I'll come over here and change the blending mode to this. I'll change the blending mode to this. I think this is okay. So I would like to place it around here like this. Okay, and drag in the text. So I'll place the text at the foreground, that is at the front of this. I also like to make a duplicate of that particular rectangle, and I also like to change its fill color. But before doing that, I like to adjust it and change its fill color to a value of yellow this way. So I'll change it to a value of yellow this way. I would like to scale it out. Okay, that is in terms of that. I can still choose to transform this and scale this down this way like this. Okay, and actually group them together, and I'll call this Kingsley. So for the Kingsley group, I'll make a duplicate of it by hitting Ctrl J. Okay, I'll hit Ctrl T and change the position and place it around somewhere here like this as well. So for this, I would like to change the name to Ire Emmanuel. That is Pastor Ire Emmanuel. Okay, that's for that, and align this to the middle of the rectangle. Okay, I also need to adjust this. Okay, so I'll call this Pastor Ire. So I'll go ahead to organize my layers. I would like to add the final fill to this whole project. So select the layer at the top, come to your adjustment, enable the color lookups, and choose a color lookup that can help the project and use it on your project. Okay guys, that is in terms of that. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this video. If you find this video helpful, do it to give it a like, do it to smash the like button right now. Please, if you are new to the channel and you're yet to subscribe, do it to smash the subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell to get notification whenever I upload new content. And if you're a returning subscriber guys, thank you for always watching. If you have any question, any comment, you can leave your questions and comment in the comment section. Please and please, if you're able to achieve any design projects with the help of my tutorials, do it to always tag me whenever you upload them on your socials so that I can give that a like. So thank you guys for watching and see you in the next.